to say something really quick, and this is just one reason why I know the Lord wants to do something in this church this morning. Man, we ran through those songs we just sang, I don't know how many times. Seems like on every song we had an issue, rhythm issue, right? But we practiced these songs, and we know we had these songs, but I'm telling you right now, I think the devil's trying to disrupt us right now, and I think we just got to block that out, and I'm just super excited this morning. I've been on a journey these past month and a half. I've just been on a journey of just finding out who I really need to be, not who I want to be. And I got a couple of questions I got to ask this morning. First one is, does anybody in here feel like they're starving spiritually? Do you feel like you just can't worship? Do you feel like you can't pray? Do you feel like when you come in here, it's just another thing we do as a Christian? We come to church. It's just another place to go. It's another checkpoint. All right, I made it to church this week. I think a lot of us may be feeling this. I'm not just talking about this church. I'm talking about the church. And we're going to get into that a little bit more here in a little bit. But before I go any further, I just got to pray to the God right now. Dear Lord, I'm grateful. I'm humble to be up here, Lord. I pray you just give me clarity in my mind, Lord. Anything that could hinder your spirit, God, I pray you get it out right now, God, Lord. I just pray that you clear minds in here, Lord. Lord, that what you have to say this morning, God, that we would take and we would actually use it in our life, Lord. We'd apply it to our life, God. Lord, I pray you be with everybody in here, God. No matter what they're going through, Lord, you know what they need, Lord. I'm just going to thank you right now in advance for what you're going to do. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. So I've been on this, this journey the past couple months. And y'all, I've come to the realization that we're doing it wrong. And this morning, I'm not here to step on anybody's toes. I'm not here to point fingers at anybody. And I say this every time I get up here to preach. If I could just put a mirror and preach to myself, that's what I do, because, y'all, I've just been doing it wrong. I've been doing it wrong. And those questions I asked this morning, if you're starving spiritually, because I've talked to people that said they feel like they're starving spiritually in this church. You feel like you can't worship. You feel like you can't pray, Lord. And once again, I'm not stepping on anybody's toes, but we have a prayer time every Sunday, and we have 5 people come pray. I'm not stepping on your toes. This is about reflection this morning. There's 2 reasons. There's 2 reasons that we can feel this way. There's a bunch of reasons, but there's 2 reasons that encapsulate why we feel this way. For one, this is going to be the major one. One of the first things we need to figure out is, have you given your life to the Lord? Have you trusted Jesus as your Savior? That's number one question you got to ask yourself. Because if you haven't done that, you're not going to ever feel spiritually fed. You're never going to be able to worship. You're never going to be able to pray. This place is literally just going to be a building that we may look pretty if we haven't got to that point. The next thing is more dangerous, though. And I don't want you guys to take this the wrong way. Being saved, trusting Jesus as your Lord and Savior, that's number one priority. But the next thing is, you may just be in your own way. You may just be in your own way. I want us to flip over to Luke 9. I was going to preach this out of Matthew, but man, Luke he adds that extra little bit. That extra little bit. Luke 9. And y'all, once again, I don't want anybody to feel like I'm attacking. And I'm going to go ahead and let you guys know during this message, you're going to hear some passion come out. Is that okay if I get a little passionate? Okay. Because for some reason, I've had a lot of time of reflection. I've had a lot of long drives over the past month and a half, and really been able to just be me and God and say, God, I need you to just tell me what I need to do, because I know I'm failing you right now. Luke 9, 23. You know, it's really funny that, Pastor, you're starting a James series. We're going to be hitting some James today. We're going to be into some James today, and I think that's just God right there, you know. Me and Pastor George have no connection of what we're going to preach or anything like that. And his message last Sunday, man, it ties into this message this Sunday. And now he's talking about starting a series on James. We're going to be in some James today. And, you know, that's God. God wants to move in this community. We just got to listen. Luke 9:23, then he said to them all, if anyone desires to come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross daily and follow me. For whoever desires to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake will save it. For what profit is it to a man if he gains the whole world and is himself destroyed or lost? For whoever is ashamed of me and my words, of him the Son of Man will be ashamed when he comes in his own glory, and his Father and the holy angels. Man, I think we've all heard this one, right? We've all heard it. We've all heard it, and you know, we read it and we think it, and we're like, man, that'd be cool to be able to do that, right? Yeah. But this verse has taken over me. It shines such a light on me, like Jesus has shined such a light on this for me, like I've never seen it more clearly in my life, ever. I've never been more convicted of anything in my life than I am standing here today about this message. Because I want y'all to read this once again. Let's read that first part. If anyone desires, first of all, it says anyone desires to come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross, what? Daily. You know, in the other Gospels, it does not say daily. Luke adds daily in there. Because that's a very important piece right there, because I found out over my course of life that this Christian walk, this walk with Christ, is an uphill walk. Can anybody agree there? It's uphill. And the moment you take your foot off the gas, what are you going to do? You're going to slide back down. There's no pause button. There's no, I'm going to stay in this same spot and hang out. I'm happy with this spot. The moment you stop going forward for Christ, you go backwards. You know, Brittany has this thing. Unless you got a car like Brittany, she's got, maybe y'all have it on your car. It's called AVH. What's that stand for? Automatic Vehicle Hold, maybe. If you push the brake hard enough, it will stop. It doesn't matter if you're in park or not. It stops. And man, she loves that. I can't stand it because I'll be sitting there at a stoplight. I'll hit the brake too hard. And when I'm ready to start going off a stoplight, I like to just kind of let the car start rolling for me. You know, it doesn't. You got to push the pedal, and I don't like that. Well, she goes through a car wash one time with it on, puts it in neutral, and it starts. They're like, put your car in neutral. She's like, it's in neutral. She like forgot to push the button. It was about to tear her car up. So I was like, I would never use that button. I don't like it. I'm going to let y'all know we don't have AVH in our life. We just don't. We don't have that. You can't just stop where you're at and think you can stay there. We believe that. We believe that so often that, okay, I've made it to this point in my Christian walk. I'm satisfied. I'm satisfied with where I'm at and what I've done. I'm just going to hang out here. I've done enough. The moment you have that, the moment you're satisfied, you're going backwards. Because it's an uphill battle. It's going uphill, and that's the great thing about it. That's why it's so satisfying when we have our wins, because we know we've worked for it. We're going up that hill. It's not an easy path. That's why so many people don't take it. So that's the big thing I wanted to point, and we're going to be in a couple different verses, but that's the big thing I wanted to point out was let him deny himself and take up the cross daily. Well, so what's denying myself mean? There's a couple different ways. And me and Brittany have talked about this, and man, she's probably annoyed with me because I've been fired up. I've been talking crazy, maybe. It sounds crazy, but in reality it's what we're supposed to be doing, but it sounds crazy because we've never done it. It's like, and she asked me the other day, she's like, when you talk like this, you make it sound like we just need to starve ourselves for God. I'm like, well, we do need to fast, technically, but that's not really what we're talking about here. Fasting is a way to deny yourself, to deny this flesh. And man, I got to do that more. And I want you to think right now, when's the last time I fasted? When's the last time I literally went without what this body wants so much? Because man, it's so easy to break in. I'm so weak, y'all. I found that out. I'm so weak when it comes to not denying myself. But what else do we need to deny? We need to deny our emotions. Man, we got some emotions. Man, we got some feelings. Man, we got some opinions that do not reflect the Bible. And when we let those get in our head, we cloud over God's plans for us. So we got to deny our mind. We got to deny our body. We got to deny all this stuff. And it takes work because it doesn't say let him deny himself and the cross will be put on your shoulder for you and then you can walk. What's it say? Pick up the cross. That takes effort. That takes movement. That takes action. We're missing action. We want to just pop up there and, all right, let it be light. And, that cross is heavy, y'all. That cross is heavy, and if you're not prepared mentally, and if you haven't denied yourself, you're going to drop it immediately because it's going to be too hard. That's a heavy thing to carry when you pick up that cross and you try to walk for Jesus and try to do right and try to preach His Word, because you get discomfort like that. Immediately you will find discomfort in this process. And that's why we have failed, because we haven't denied ourselves. We're so worried about our feelings. We're so worried about our dignity. Dignity so many times gets in front of desire. My dignity blocks my desire to worship. My dignity will block my desire to serve God. So we have to, first and foremost, and what we're going to be talking about today is personally denying ourselves, and as a church, denying ourselves. Because those are two separate things, and we got to figure them both out. Because, over the years, it's just, we've strayed away. We've strayed away. So, when we talk about denying ourselves, I've already said dignity. We got to deny that. We got to get our dignity and worry about my what's the word I'm looking for here? My popularity in the community, or my status in the community, what people think of me in this community. That's got to go out the window, y'all. It's got to go out. I want to know what God thinks of me, what Jesus thinks of me. And then, when I make them happy, what's it matter what the community thinks? So that dignity, that pride. And y'all, we're just lazy. Can I get an amen? I'm lazy, y'all. And once again, let me get a mirror, somebody. I'm lazy. We're lazy, but then we're workaholics at the same time. Y'all realize that? We're lazy, but we're workaholics. Guilty. We have a victim's mentality most of the time. We're like a bunch of liberals. Y'all should be ashamed. I'm just kidding. Another thing is we hold grudges. We hold on to these grudges and these things that don't matter at all. But it matters to us, so we let that ruin our spiritual walk. We let that ruin the growth of our church. And the list goes on. We're just downright humans, right? And all these things are our faults. And nobody's expected to be perfect, ever. It's impossible to be perfect. That was ruined day one, right? Or not day one, but y'all know what I mean. Oh, that woman had to. But that man let her do it, y'all. So, Pastor George said something last Sunday. He said, we say we believe in missions and evangelism, but do we really? And that's a deep question right there, because we may believe in it, but do we want to be a part of it is the real question. Let's Isaiah 59. You know, so many times, we talk about getting spiritually fed. We talk about just having the freedom just to worship our God. He deserves it, y'all. He deserves worship. He deserves praise. He deserves our time, our devotion. He deserves all of that. But so many times we think God has just forgotten about us. We think God, there's something wrong. God's just moved on, and that's why I can't worship, or that's why I can't praise Him. That's why I can't get spiritually fed. Isaiah 59 says, behold, the Lord's hand is not shortened, that He cannot save, nor His ear heavy, that He cannot hear, but your iniquities have separated you from God, and your sins have hidden His face from you, so that He will not hear you. For your hands are defiled with blood, and your fingers with iniquity. Your lips have spoken lies, your tongue has muttered perversity. No one calls for justice, nor does any plead for truth. They trust in empty words and speak lies. They conceive evil and bring forth iniquity. So basically, the main part I want us to look at here is it's not God. It's not God that His hand is shortened that He cannot save. It's not God that His ears are so heavy that He can't hear. It's us. Day after day, we lie to ourselves. And y'all, I'm sorry. I'm trying to give y'all what I've just been getting flooded into my heart the past month and a half, because y'all, I've been hurting because once again, I've been failing. Now, do I feel like I'm a good person? I feel like I'm a good person. Do I feel like I do good things or try to do the right thing all the time? Yeah, I do. But that's not enough. It's not enough to do what God really wants us to do. And for the longest time, I thought that it wasn't my fault. Maybe it's just the atmosphere in the church, or maybe it's just this or that, or nope. Me. And if you guys start thinking to yourself and just start thinking about maybe my relationship has slipped over the past couple years, or just weeks, months, years, whatever it is, it's going to boil down to one thing: you. And man, that hits hard. And we're gonna get to some other stuff that really sets the tone. And I talked about this earlier, about this church, coming to church as being a Christian checkpoint. Just something we do. Just check it off. Next week, check it off. Oh, felt good. We feel bad, like, oh man, I'm going to miss Sunday. I'm going to miss this Sunday. You have 6 other days in the week to live for the Lord. You know what I mean? We can't think that this day right here is the biggest part of our Christian walk. Think about that. We cannot think of coming to this building is the best thing we're going to do for the Lord in our Christian walk, because all this is a recharge station, y'all. It's where we come in here, we get fed. We should already be feeding ourselves, but we come in here and get a little extra boost. And I heard this, and I don't want to ramble too much, but there was another pastor that was saying it. Huge church. It looks like they're doing everything right. Man, everybody's up in there praising God and praying and all this kind of stuff. And when somebody came up and asked the pastor, like, how are things going? He was like, feels kind of like a zoo. Feels kind of like a zoo. And he was like, what do you mean? He said, well, you see a zoo, has all these wild animals put in cages. And every day those wild animals, they get fed in their little habitats, and they get fed, and they're just happy to be in their habitat. Safe and sound, not in the wild. They just get fed, and they just stay in those cages. They just stay in those cages, when in reality, they should be in the wild. Y'all hear what I'm saying here? We come to this church, and we just get fed. Pastor George, feed us. Pastor George, feed us. It's not on Pastor George to feed us all the time. And when we do get fed, we don't just need to sit in this cage and keep it to ourselves. We got to go out in the wild, y'all, and we got to preach the gospel. We're staying in, we're in a zoo. We're in a zoo, just sitting in our cages, being happy, safe, not worried about anything. Nobody's touching us in here. We're safe, and man, we just get fed. And we don't got to work for it or anything like that. But y'all, it's time to get out into the wild where God designed us to be, because to help other people other than ourselves. And this is where I'm hurting, y'all. This is where I've gotten convicted. Everything that I've learned over the years, every message that I've received by any pastor, preacher, evangelist, whatever it is, how many of those messages did I go apply to my life and let somebody else know about? I could probably count on one hand. Like truly going to do that, y'all. Not just telling one person. Actually going out and spreading the gospel. Let's flip over to James 4. Sorry, Pastor, I didn't know you were doing the sermon, but we're going to jump to James 4 for a little bit. Because y'all, I'm glad, Pastor George, I am so glad that you're doing this, because I've been reading James, and this is our instruction manual. We need to look at this, and it's going to show you what you're doing wrong. It's going to tell you how to do it right. And it's going to hurt your feelings in the process. It really is. I'm pretty much going to read all of James 4. It's not too long, and we're going to break that down as we go, and we give you all a little foreshadowing of the study that Pastor George is going to do. I want us to think about our church, the nation, the world, however you want to visualize it when I read this, but it's happening everywhere. It's happening in this church. It's happening in the church over there. It's happening in the church over here. It's happening in this community. It's happening in this nation. It's been happening for too long. But it says, where do wars and fights come from among you? Do they come from your desires for pleasure that war in your members? You lust and do not have. You murder and covet and cannot obtain. You fight and war, yet you do not have, because you do not ask. You say, whoa, I ask God all the time for stuff. He doesn't give it to me. Well, let's keep reading a little bit. It says, you ask and do not receive, because you ask amiss, that you may spend it on your pleasures. It says, adulterers and adulteries, do you not know the friendship with the world is enmity with God? Whoever therefore wants to be a friend of the world makes himself an enemy of God. Or do you think that the Scripture says it in vain? The Spirit who dwells in us yearns jealousy. But he who gives more grace, therefore he says, God resists the proud, but gives grace to the humble. We're going to stop there for a second. I want you guys to think about, because look, I'm on a mission right now. I feel like I'm on a mission. I don't know how I'm going to do it by myself, but I'm going to give it everything I got, and I hope people band together and we try to help. We try to do this together, because that's what we're here for. We're not here to sit in this church and just learn. We got to get out, y'all. We got to get out of this building and start spreading it. So we need to be on a mission to start in this community here. Start a movement. We have to start a movement, and we're too busy, worrying about our own desires and pleasures. And we get in all these tiffs about what we want and what I want or what she wants. And that's this whole problem, is everybody has a different opinion, a different want, or what they think is right. If we would just deny ourselves, deny our mind just for a minute and read. Just read what God has been telling us since the beginning. Man, we could make a difference. Man, we can make a difference. You're like, Nick, what are you talking about? Like, what do you want us to do? You want us to just go marching down the street and maybe it comes to that. Every day, no. Like, Nick, we got to work. We can't just drop everything. I know we got to work. I know we got to do all this and do that, but is that stuff consuming us? Because we all say we got to work. I got to pay the bills. Well, why do we have so many bills? Because we wanted stuff and desired stuff. And trust me, y'all, I'm in the same boat. Like, I wish I had no bills. Now I wish I would go back and just like get a horse and a carriage and we just ride around the Amish. I guess that's describing the Amish, right? I mean, I'm almost there. Shaved the mustache, got the beard. Amish. I respect those people. I really do. I really do. But seriously, like, how can we make this big difference I'm talking about? It's the fact that anytime we get the chance to talk to somebody out in the world, I'm not worried about the people necessarily in this fort. Now, there may be people in here that need to talk, and maybe there's somebody in here that has never trusted Jesus as their Lord and Savior, and man, today's the day. Today is the day. Don't wait another minute, and just give your life to God, and man, you'll be so on fire. We got to get out there, and instead of talking, well, I hope Trump wins. Look, I love Trump, y'all, but he ain't going to save this country. Man, well, hopefully we can get control of the House or whatever it is and all this kind of stuff. It's not going to save this country. No politician is going to save this country. I'm tired of it. That's all we talk about. How about we talk about Jesus Christ to people? He's the one that saves the country. It's not just politics I'm talking about, but man, it's just that time of year. It's that time of year, right about, we're going to talk about that. But if we got a movement started where people actually would believe that our God could change this country, maybe the country would change. Not just relying on a politician that's just as crooked as we are. Just as crooked and sinful as we are, y'all. We can't, and now, go vote. Let's get the best person we can possible in the office, but I don't even know what that means anymore. I don't even know what that means anymore, y'all. Just have elect this person in there, that then they don't even get to make decisions. There's about 50 other people that make the decision. Like, what? Like, what are we doing? We're putting our faith in men and women to run this country. Man, hopefully we can get gas prices down, get them taxes down. But first of all, I say we make a pat, not to pay taxes. Did the Lord not say be a good steward of your money? And I'm not giving my money to some crooks. Amen. Come on. I really been thinking about that. Listen to me. The Lord's telling you to be a good steward with your money, but we give our money to the government, and what do? They give it to Ukraine? Or who are they giving it to? Not for God, I'll tell you that, so I'm just saying. I mean, I'm really not joking. But anyway, here's the thing. It's not like this happened over the past, now it's gotten a lot worse over the past 20 years, right? 10, 20 years. It's starting to get crooked, but y'all, this has been a problem for hundreds and hundreds of years. And we've been, I hate to use the word brainwashed, but we've been tricked. We've been tricked and we've been lied to, but we fell for it. And there's nobody to blame for how this country is but the church. We sat down. We're going to talk about this in a minute, y'all. We're going to talk about this actual physical building here, but we've come and hid inside these walls and said, we're good. I'm comfy in here. My heart feels good. Whenever there's a dying, lost world out there that's going to hell, and we're just letting it happen. We sat down. My last message was a standing disciple. I hope we've stood up, y'all, since that message. I hope we've been really going after that rule of 100, which is not hard to obtain at all. I hope we've really been putting in the time for God because He deserves it. I hope so. Because y'all, crazy times are coming. Crazy times are coming, and the only thing we can do is stand up, stand out, be heard. Let ourselves be heard. Don't be fearful of a government. I'm not trying to go anarchy, y'all, but it may come down to that. And that's all serious right there. We may have to have a little anarchy, and because we're getting to the point where we allow this to continue to happen, all this stuff that they're doing, it's just like, what? How is this even possible? How are we allowing a full-grown man to swim in a competition with women, and then when they tie, right? So have y'all heard the story? I watched it the other day, right? It's the college or whatever it was, and it was a documentary on it was the Joe Rogan podcast. I listen to that every now and then. And now, not promoting the Joe Rogan podcast, but, I watch it every now and then. I'm not ashamed to say it. And it was the female, I don't remember her name, that got hooked up or had to compete against this male. Okay, it was a man. And she actually tied him in a race for first place. And they came up to her and said, hey, you guys tied, but we're going to give him the medal. Yeah, it is jacked up. That's how twisted we are, y'all. So, we can say, that's jacked up, and then go on with our lives. Or we can do something about it. Like, Nick, what are we going to do? I don't know, y'all, but we got to figure something out. We got to get out of these walls. We got to get out of this building. And we got to start making a difference. Let's just keep reading. Let's just keep reading. We're verse 7. It says, therefore submit to God. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you. He will flee from you. Draw near to God, and he will draw near to you. Cleanse your hands, you sinners, and purify your hearts, you double-minded. Lament and mourn and weep. And y'all, this part right here really, really hit me. And I read it to Brittany, and it sounds crazy. It sounds crazy, but this is New Testament, y'all. This is it. It says, lamentate and mourn and weep. Let your laughter be turned to mourning and your joy to gloom. Humble yourselves in the sight of the Lord, and he will lift you up. What it's saying there, all this success you've had, all this worldly stuff you've accomplished, you need to be sad, because what have you accomplished for God? We need to be weeping, turning our laughter, ha ha ha, I'm doing so good in life. We should be crying and weeping for how just bad we've done for God. That's hard to swallow. It's like, what? I've done so, I'm a good person and we do this. We haven't done enough. We haven't done enough. And we sit in a bubble and we think we're doing enough because we're comfortable and nothing necessarily, this country's just at the point where it's not really affecting me. It's crazy to think about all this kind of stuff that's going on. But like, I'm still fine in Edenville, North Carolina. Nobody's really coming and knocking on my door. Nobody's trying to take my guns. Nobody's trying to make me compete against a different gender. So I'm just hearing about it. It sounds crazy, but it's not enough to get us in action for some reason. I almost wish that we were in a place that we really had to fear for what we did. Think about China, communist. Man, I told the guys in the leadership team about this, and the underground church in China, right? You're not going to find much on it, obviously, but there's missionaries that have went over there and seen it, and they can tell you what it's about. And they just, if you guys, actually, I really encourage you guys to watch it. But Francis Chan is who I kind of heard him really speak about. He went to Underground Railroad, and, I think he's he's a mission, that's where he started, right, in the field. So he said he went over there, and he was just kind of asking them, like, okay, what have you guys been through? What do you guys face on the daily? And they're talking about, sometimes we get rushed in with guns, and guns are going off, and we get chased off. Sometimes, it's just persecution after persecution, and they really have to live for the Lord and suffer for the Lord. And but they still make the effort. There's millions and millions of people that have dedicated themselves to that church. And they're doing something, man. They really are doing something. But then when Francis Chan kind of told them what we had going on, oh yeah, well we got churches on pretty much every corner. If we don't like who's preaching at our normal church, we'll go to another church. Sometimes we just stay home watching on video or whatever it is, and they was like, and he said they started busting out laughing hysterically, and just couldn't stop laughing. Like it was such a hard laughing cry. They were like, "Ooh, this is getting weird," and they basically said to him, "How did you guys read this Bible and think that's what we need to do?" Whoa, because y'all, I've been doing some looking. The New Testament never says build a church, a physical church. Never does it say we need to build a physical church. And we've started to make little compartments of different churches and little cliques and this and that. How many churches? 1, 2, 3, probably 5 or 6 right here, right? Do we even know those people? Because we are the church, not the Well community. That's a fun name. This is a really nice building, but this is not what God wanted. He wanted us to go meet with those people and those people and those people. And we travel through this community spreading His word. When they used to have church back in the Bible days, it wasn't in the tabernacle. It wasn't in a temple usually. If it was at the temple, it was in the courts of the temple. It wasn't in that building. They were out and about so people in the public could actually see something. And they could say, ooh, maybe I need to stop in here and check this out. But we just hide in here. We hide in here and we talk about the Bible and we make each other feel good. But nobody out there is getting anything out of it unless we go out there and tell them, and we are not doing that as much as we need to be doing. I'm not saying that everybody in here is just wrong and doing nothing for the Lord. Trust me, that's not what I'm saying, guys. I'm talking about the church. The church. Everybody good? I'm sorry. Like I said, this is something that's been just kind of bothering me. It's not really bothering me, but convicting me over the past little bit. It really started when we had that service, what was it, about a month or so ago, when we had that big service where it just the Spirit just, man, He was in this place. It was thick. People were coming to the altar. We were singing. We were praising. At the end of church, we had people still coming to the altar. It was just one of those services you dream of, right? Such a good feeling service. And man, it woke something up in me, y'all. I got home. I didn't feel settled for some reason. Something ain't right. And that's what led me down this path. So I've been praying every day that everybody in this church gets their heart pricked and gets that same conviction. Because y'all, man, thank you, Lord, for convicting my heart, right? That's a blessing, y'all. That's a blessing to be shown that you've been doing something wrong by God, because then you can learn to fix it and start growing closer to Him. And I'm thankful that He did that for me. And it hasn't been easy. It really hasn't been easy. It seems like the more I try to live for God, the more bad stuff starts happening to me. Y'all, I've been through it. I'm in the fire right now. In the fire. But Lord, I'm praising you through it because that's what He's here for. James 4:11. We need to listen to this, y'all. we need to listen to this right here. It says, do not speak evil of one another, brethren. He who speaks evil of a brother and judges his brother speaks evil of the law and judges the law. But if you judge the law, you are not a doer of the law, but a judge. There is only one lawgiver who is able to save and to destroy. Who are we to judge another? That segment right there rips churches apart. Well, Nick was wearing that hat a couple Sundays ago. You know what I mean? I wore that hat for a reason, y'all. And I don't know if y'all remember it, if it's really burning somebody's heart or whatever it is. But who knows who was judging me. But if you let that take away from your experience in this house of the Lord, that's wrong. And me and Marvin, man, we've had some good conversations. We both have just been digging into this and what's it mean? And Marvin, I came to a realization, we're sitting here thinking about what should we wear to church and all this stuff. And we were thinking about this physical church. We were thinking about this building. I'm so thankful. The Lord blessed us with this building. He did. He blessed us with a Mexican restaurant hooked to the side of it too, y'all. Come on. What other church you say? We got Taco Tuesday. Not many. The Lord loves us. Okay? He blessed us with this. But this, and I want to read y'all something really quick. I want to read y'all something that really hit right here. It says, too closely identifying a local expression of the body of Christ with a building diverts the focus from the identity of the church and the task and functions of a church. Y'all understand what that's saying? We get so caught up in this. Ooh, I want this carpet. We want these chairs. We want this wood wall. We want these TVs. Oh, we want the rock out there. We want big TVs, speakers. We want all this stuff. None of that matters. God doesn't care about any of that. But we want this place to look pretty. Now, the Lord's blessed us with it. We got to take care of it. That's why we had a work day Saturday, to clean it up a little bit and do this and do that. But how many times does too closely identifying a local expression of the body of Christ with a building divert the focus from the identity of the church and the task and functions of the church? The Lord did not put us on this earth to keep this building up. He did not put us on this earth to fill these seats. We got to get out there. And I think, I really started thinking and what I really want to do one Sunday. I've been thinking about that spot in China Grove, that big pavilion they got. I just want to go out there with a speaker and a mic on a Sunday morning and just start preaching the gospel and see who shows up. Because there may be somebody out there that's never heard the gospel. That's church. Getting out in the community. Church is not a building. And we've said this and we've said this and we've said this. And this. A building is about rip this church apart. I said it. I won't go deep into it. But think about it. I want to just back myself up. I want the Lord to say this. Acts 7:48. Acts 7:48. Acts 7:48 says, however, the Most High does not dwell in temples made with hands. Or human hands. God doesn't need us to build him a building. There's times in the Old Testament where, Moses built the tabernacle to take through the wilderness and all this kind of stuff. That stuff was there, but not once does it ever say that God needs us to build a building. Because we're going to look at some more stuff here. Acts 17:24. All right. It says, this is Acts 17:24. God, who made the world and everything in it, since he is Lord of heaven and earth, does not dwell in temples made with hands. It's like the exact same scripture. And then I won't make you guys turn to it, but in Isaiah 66, if you want to jot that down, 1 through 2, it says the exact same thing. So I want us to really look at to this morning and reflect on is, yes, The Lord has blessed us with this. Thank you, Lord, for blessing us with this building. I'm so thankful that you have. It's a warm place. It's a dry place that we can come worship. But I also want to start praying, Lord, don't let me get caught up in the building. Because the building is not the church. I want us to be a church that's not afraid to go set up on a corner right here in Landis somewhere and have church in the parking lot. Oh, it's a little cold outside. It might rain. There's people in other countries that walk 7 or 8 miles to hear the word of the Lord outside and it's raining. You know, we've been tricked. It's not necessarily anybody in this church's fault. It's all of our faults. It's the generations in the past fault. Like, Nick, how can we even turn it around? This is a huge task. How do we change the direction of this country? And that question right there usually deters us because it seems impossible. I was walking through downtown Kannapolis yesterday. They had the St. Patty's Festival, right? So I told the boys that I was going to take them to the card shop, which is like right there in the middle of downtown Kannapolis. And Brittany was like, they got a festival going on. It might be hard to find parking. I was like, okay, whatever. Well, we drove around for 20 minutes trying to find parking. But we found it. I parked in a good old First Baptist parking lot. I don't even know if I was supposed to park there, but it's a church. If they yell at me, I'm going to have this conversation with them. Okay? So anyway, we go there, and I'm just sitting there walking. I'm like, there's so many people out here. And this is just a little small town of Kannapolis. You know, it's getting bigger, but in reality, it's not a lot of people compared to what's out there. But I'm like, this is overwhelming. How can I touch? How can I help them? How can I make a difference in this many people? And I was asking the wrong question. It's not how can I. It's how can God use me? How can God use us? But I started out this sermon by saying we have to deny ourselves and pick up that cross daily. And what that tells you. And I even in a couple other verses, and you guys, if you read through Acts and if you read through James and there's a bunch of other things you can read through. Usually it takes us putting forth action before God puts in action. Like draw near to God and He draws near to you. Right? It's not God's going to draw near to you, then yeah, you're going to draw near to God. No. Now, God may slowly be tugging on somebody. He may be drawing them in gently. That does happen when people are getting led to Him. But once we're in the walk, y'all, we gotta make the effort. We gotta do the hard stuff. We gotta pick up the cross. I didn't want to do this morning to beat up anybody. I didn't want to come up here and just act like I'm Mr. Perfect, because I am the farthest from it, y'all. I'm the farthest from it, and man, I just in that verse where it says we should just weep and cry, turn our laughter to sorrow, just for the fact that just thinking about what have I done and what have I should have been doing, like what have I should have done, what have I missed out on, the opportunities I've missed on. That should make us so sad, and y'all, that's hitting. It's hitting hard. Like, Nick, quit beating yourself up. What can you do? That's what we've been deceived on. It's like, don't beat yourself up. You're doing the best you can. We're humans. We can only do so much. We have the power of the Holy Spirit dwelling within us, y'all, if you're saved. I believe in a supernatural God, all-powerful God. I believe in Him, and I believe He can take that power and push it through us if we were willing. If we were willing to just pray. Y'all, I went last year, I told this to the leadership team also. Last year was I may have said this to y'all, least spiritual year I've had in my life, probably. It's probably the least spiritual year I've had. Not saying I wasn't a good person or doing good things, but I can't tell you how many times, I could probably count on these two hands how many times I picked that Bible up. Or I could probably fit within an hour, maybe 2 hours, how much I prayed throughout the whole year. And I know I'm not the only one. I know I'm not the only one. And today, I want to start that movement. I want to start that movement of dropping our dignity, dropping our pride, turning our workaholic mentality into a workaholic for God, like being a workaholic for God and wanting to do what He wants to do. And I didn't finish one of my James, and I got to because it really, that's how we'll finish it out. It's James 4:13. If you want to flip back, James 4:13. And y'all, I want this to be encouraging. I don't want you to leave here today feeling like, oh man, I'm just a loser, I don't want that at all. I want you to know there's hope. You can start now. It's never too late to start living for the Lord. And because y'all, since I've had this mentality and been trying my hardest to live for Him and spread His word, it doesn't matter what I'm going through in life, for somehow I still have joy. Somehow I still have a weird peace, even when, like I said, in the fire. That's God. But it says this right here, James 4:13, come now, you who say, today or tomorrow I will go to such and such city, spend a year there, buy and sell, and make a profit. Whereas you do not know what will happen tomorrow. For what is your life? It is even a vapor that appears for a little time, and then it vanishes away. Instead, you ought to say, if the Lord wills, we shall live and do this or that. But now you boast in arrogance. All such boasting is evil. Therefore, to him who knows to do good and does not do it, to him it is sin. And that's where my problem was last year. So I'm going to go do this, I'm going to go do that, I'm going to make this money here, I'm going to do that. And it got caught up. Just got caught up. Instead of saying, okay, Lord, where would you have me go? And Lord, if your will allows it, I would like to do this, and show me how I can glorify your name through this process and all this kind of stuff. And I just hadn't been doing that. And that, man, I love everybody in here so much. I love this time we have, but I've come to the realization that it's time. It's time to start taking action. And I'm not talking about, well, we're going on a church camping trip, No, it's not the action we need, right? That's great. We can't get so caught up in planning stuff for ourselves and taking care of this building and what we want to do. We got to get out there and grind for Him, and we got to get out there and let our presence, or let His presence be known through us. And man, we can make a difference. And I'm excited what we're going to do and what we can do. I don't know what that looks like necessarily. It's going to take a lot of prayer. A lot of prayer. Not just a little bit of prayer, a lot of prayer. That is one of the most important things we can do. That's where we find so much clarity and peace through prayer. Another thing is just not being afraid to worship, y'all. There's a song that, and I can't remember the exact verse, but it's talking about the angels in heaven singing, holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty, right? How many times are we saying that? Like, no matter what. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty. In the highs and the lows, wherever we are, we should be doing that, and we should be doing it out there, not just in here. I'm not talking about people in here raising your hand. That's great. I love. It's proven fact. Lifting your hands above your shoulders here relieves stress. That is a scientifically proven fact. How weird is that? How weird is this, right? So that's what we need to be doing, but also we need to be out there. So I'm not gonna keep dragging this on. I'm gonna have Leo play a song, and I want everybody to go and stand to your feet if you don't mind.